The reason why I started this channel, and I was hoping to get some traction with it, is I kind of starting to feel like the most underserved demographic in the whole population now are young men. And the reason that I say this is I listen to someone named Scott Galloway talks about young men and young men issues all the time. And the one topic that I really wanted to get specific with young men on is about money and finance. And I say that because I have a 28-year-old son. I also have a 24-year-old daughter. And I started talking to him and his friends about all things money and finance a handful of years ago. And when I started to do that, I started to realize that they didn't know much about the details and the way to build up long-term financial stability and long-term financial freedom, which I think is what most people are looking for. We start talking about retirement and the millions of other ways that are so far down the road about money and finance. I just think it just gives people this feeling of, especially young men, of not being able to win the game that they're trying to play. Another thing that I say all the time is that life is not meant to do alone. And of course, if you start talking to people like my dad's age or my grandparents' age, life is a little bit different then. Men's job was to go out, make the money, bring home the bacon. And a lot of times back in those days, for a lot of us, our mothers or grandmothers, or definitely our great-grandmothers, women stayed home and women didn't work. And I'm not saying that we're ever going back to that or that would even be a good thing, because from someone whose grandmother did work, my mother, my stepmother worked, my mother-in-law worked, I never was attracted to wanting to have a relationship long-term in my life with a woman who wanted to be a stay-home mom. Not that there's anything wrong with that whatsoever, but I've learned is life is not meant to do alone. And so when I talk to these young men and they're trying to figure out how to get ahead financially or find out what their career path is going to be or whatever the case may be, there are some stats here that I didn't want to forget about that, are, I think, causing a lot of young men to struggle. And part of that struggle then leads into a lot of other parts of their life that then cause problems as well. And I think learning about money and finance is very, very important. And of course, the big first one there was about education. And I think now more young women go to college. More young women are getting ahead financially. You see stats all the time as a longtime real estate agent where I think it was 2.7 more young women own real estate than young men do. More young men are staying home longer, living with parents longer, living with family longer. And it's keeping this long-term relationship issue where men and women, or whatever the case may be, I'm talking to young men right now, are trying to figure out how to have these long-term relationships. And I know it's funny. I got married super young. Part of why I got married super young is as a very young man, I was 6'3" like I am now when I was 16 years old. But I was 155 pounds. I had terrible acne. I had a big nose. I have a scar on my face that you can't really see now that I have a beard, and it's sort of faded out a little bit over the years. But I was not Mr. Cool Guy, and I was not dating a lot, was not getting girlfriends, even when I went into college and those kind of things. And I think what happened to me was, as I met who was my wife for a really long time, she paid attention to me. She, wanted to do business together. And she gave me a little bit of that drive that I think I needed in order to feel successful as a man. And because of that, we got married probably way too young. And lucky for us, for the next 25, almost 30 years, it worked out great for us. We're now divorced and moved on now. But I will tell you, as someone who got divorced when I was 49 years old, who had never lived alone, been single, worried about dating and doing all those things as I went back out into the world, I can only imagine what it feels like as a young man in your, say, late teens, early 20s. Maybe you're in college, maybe you're pushing 30 years old now, and you're trying to figure out how to launch your life into a way that would make sense for you. And so because that is what we did this channel for. And so if you're someone who follows this channel, or I'm hoping to get a lot of you following this channel, I am directly talking to you. Young men in their 20s and 30s. And what comes along with that then is, as I started doing this and I started talking with my son and his friends, as I started talking with my cousin, she's married and it's her husband's son and his wife, what I've learned is the more I talk to young men, the more that young women also get involved and want to talk to me as well. Because again, if they feel like the person that they might date or end up long-term with isn't also financially viable, it causes lots of drama in these relationships. And I know that because from someone who sells houses for a long time, a lot of reasons why people sell houses is because financially, the finances aren't matching up anymore. Somebody spends too much, someone doesn't get it. They're always feeling like they're paycheck to paycheck, and they're not going to potentially win that long-term game. And that's the whole point of what this channel is all about. And I think maybe I sort of even personally lost track of who I'm talking to, why I'm talking to you, and what we want to do moving forward on this channel. So if you're someone, especially young men, that are looking to figure out a way to learn the game of money and finance and learn how to become financially viable, whether that's learning how to get a better job, whether that's learning how to make more money, whether that's learning how to play the short game, the medium game, and the long-term game. And what I always say is I'm never looking to retire. I'll be 55 later this year, and I'm not looking for retirement. I'm looking to continue on my journey towards financial freedom. I'm financially free now. I'd like to have a bigger net worth and make more money and be able to do only the things that I like to do. And I'm hoping to be able to help some of you learn early on in this process the same thing, because I think a lot of times what happens is people don't have mentors, people don't have people in their lives that can help them do these things. And for those of you that don't have that, I want to be that for you. So with that being said, as we talk about this whole game of money and finance, this is where we want to start. And young men, I will tell you this. If you are dating or you have a girlfriend or you are married, I promise you, you're going to want to talk about these things. You're going to want to be on the same page financially, and they're going to want to win at this game as well moving forward. So with all that being said, let's talk about a few things that males are struggling with when they don't understand this game of money and finance. And it causes, it's been a decline in male jobs. It's been a decline in mental health. I mean, we talk about this. If you don't know who Scott Galloway is, I follow his podcast, and he basically talks about all the time, the most underserved group of people right now are young men. And I'm not sure why that is. It's almost like we've sort of gone so extreme the other way to serve and help every other demographic that these young men are almost being a little more discriminated against. So you see more things with suicides and deaths and incarcerations and all the things that are just not good for society, having a group of men struggle and taking a long time, as we used to say with our kids, there'll be no failure to launch. And it seems like there has been failure to launch. There has been delayed patterns of men getting ahead in the game. And there's many reasons as to why that is. And so the whole point of this is I hope you'll subscribe. I hope you'll follow along. And we want to be able to guide you and teach you and have someone you can reach out to so that you can understand and win, not just at the game of money and finance, but also figure out how to communicate and interact with that significant other. And whether that significant other is a man, a woman, I don't really care what your relationship is, but typically you're going to have a relationship with somebody in your life. And I promise you, if you can get ahead financially, it doesn't make all your problems go away. And I tell people all the time, just having money isn't going to make you happy, because I know lots of wealthy people that are unhappy. And there are lots of people that you would never say are wealthy that are very happy, but they've sort of figured out a way to make themselves happy in the amount of money they make and the way they're planning for the long term in the future. So with all that being said, let's figure out a way to make this work. And here's a few things that I want to talk about. So what I want to talk about first things first here is addressing the fears that I know young men have. It was funny because I know for a while in my son's 20s, as far as I know, he didn't have a girlfriend. And it's funny because he does now. And it seems amazing to me how much happier and healthier and much more joy in his life that he's having. And what I want to talk about is that in many ways, men are scared of women because women are, let's be honest, you guys are smarter than us. You guys are something that we desire and want to have. And if we're not making a lot of money, or we're not sure what our career path's going to be, and maybe we're not in good shape, or we're not maybe, this good looking, big, tall, strong, strapping guy, then a lot of those men are trying to figure out how they're going to attract somebody to do life with. And it's like right here about, if you're not either rich or jacked. It's funny when I mentioned Scott Galloway many times on this podcast already, but when I talk about Scott was talking about if you go to an online dating site, and what they'll say is for the average guy, there are women swiping left and left and left. And because they're not meeting the criteria that a woman wants, a lot of these guys are being left behind. And the ones that they're looking for all have to be, 6 foot please tall, 6 foot or over, making a certain amount of income. And that pool gets really small when you start saying, I want someone making 6+ figures, over a certain height, looks a certain way, looks a certain weight. And all of a sudden what happens is you have a large group of women looking for a very small group of men. And when I was doing my short-term dating in my early 50s or late 40s when I was divorced, it was funny to me how many women I would meet or talk to that says how they can't find a guy, how there's just not very many good guys out there. And it just seemed odd to me because I know a lot of really good dudes out there. And for some reason, we're not being able to put these two people together. And it is a big fear for them. And I think for men, it's figuring out a way to get smarter, to level up, to figure out a game plan, one, to get your own shit together, but two, then long-term figure out how to mesh your life with somebody else's life. And so that's the whole point of these videos. That's the whole point of this channel. I want you to follow along. We're definitely going to talk much more about money and finance than we are relationships. I am no relationship expert, but I am definitely someone who knows a lot more about money and finance. My degree's in money and finance. My parents taught me about money and finance from the time I was a really young guy. And am I perfect with this? Do I win all the time at this? Absolutely not. But I am in a situation where I am a multimillionaire. I am figuring out the things, and I have won and I have lost big, and then I've won again. And now I'm on the path of trying to figure out how to help others win as they move forward and as life changes. Because at the time of shooting this videos, we are in the mid 2025 year. And I just know things are going to change dramatically going forward. And whether it's the changes in jobs, how AI affects everybody and their current income, what their future income might be in some other industry, there's just going to be a lot more change and things happening quickly. And again, from someone who sits in people's living rooms, watching couples and relationships either be very healthy and good moving forward, or unfortunately selling homes for really bad, disastrous reasons. And as realtors, we can tell you a million stories about things that happen good and bad, is something that we want to talk about moving forward. So with that being said, I hope you'll subscribe to the channel. I'm really looking at you young guys and talking directly to you. And hopefully as we can help you guys get your things together as far as, life goals, financial goals, and understanding how all this works, going forward, it will bleed into all the other circles and all the other parts of your life that will make things better as well. So with all that being said, that's the goal of this channel. That's what we want to do. And I hope you'll stick around and follow along for more information, because now we're going to start shooting a whole lot of content, a whole lot of videos more about how-tos and why-tos, and help you move forward with that going on. So appreciate you watching, and we'll see you in another video very soon. Let me redo that. So I appreciate you watching. Check out another video we did right here that will help you learn more about money and finance.